hidden apps, Apple Store Shutdown, and ChatGPT comes to CarPlay. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by the MacVoices Slack. Discussions, questions, and answers, and a place to talk tech with your friends. The MacVoices Slack is available to all patrons of MacVoices. Sign up at patreon.com/MacVoices and join in. Spinning back to Apple, Apple has removed the old Pages, Numbers, and Keynote apps from the Mac Store, the Mac App Store. Apparently, if you already had them, you can still download them through the back channels, but they're no longer visible, and the old ones continue to function. So it looks like, if I understand correctly, you can have both these and the ones that are part of the new Creative Studio package.
Yep.
So it's just that the old ones don't have the new features, and they do seem to keep rolling out features to the new ones.
They do, but the thing is, it's going to be locked down to just the basic features, just like the old versions did, with just a prettier interface. But according to the article, about Apple's going to continue to nag you to want to upgrade. But I knew this was coming. It just didn't make any sense to maintain two different versions anymore. They were not going to update the old version anymore, as it is anyway. So. Just kind of bite the bullet and use them. Yeah, it's going to be kind of annoying for those who don't want to pay for it. It's fine. It's understandable if you don't get that advanced. But that's what their idea was. That's what happened.
So I didn't save a link, but I saw a couple of stories today that said that these older versions aren't actually removed from the store. They're just kind of hidden. And there is still a way to find them and download them, because there are people out there that have devices that won't run the new one. Right. So they didn't actually pull it, but it's just sort of obscured.
Yeah, I mean, again, if I were to delete my pages off this Mac, apparently because I already have downloaded it from the store and I quote unquote owned it, that I can still pull the old version down.
Right.
So, and that brings up an interesting question that honestly, I have not bought a new Mac and set it up from scratch in so long. If I go and buy a new Mac right now, are Pages, Keynote, Numbers on it already, or do I have to download them?
They're on it.
They're on it.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still in your list of purchased items.
Right.
Yeah. But as soon as you go to it, they will ask you or point out to you that there's a newer version of it and introduce you to the whole suite of creative.
Well, but that's been true since the day that the Creative Suite versions came out.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because that's what every piece of software does. That if you're running an older version, it typically notifies you. Sometimes more annoying than anything else, but it notifies you, and it's your choice.
A lot of software has a "Don't ask me again" option.
Yeah, true. But then when it breaks, then you wonder why somebody didn't tell you. Okay, so we're gonna, since Jeff already started out political, we're gonna go just a little political here. Apple permanently closes 3 Apple stores, one of which was in Baltimore, Maryland, at the Towson Center, and that was the first Apple store to be unionized. And of course, the union is raising Cain, saying that they feel picked on. And I say, I looked at this and I thought, oh, come on, because that is my second closest Apple store, so I can speak definitively. I'm sorry, Towson Center it was once one of the very hot malls. It's really gone downhill. There were 2 other of the big names that have gone out of it. There are a lot of big names that have already left. And so this didn't feel like a surprise to me at all. There was also some issue about that the way that the collective bargaining agreement had been done, that nobody was necessarily guaranteed a job, if I read it correctly. And
At that store, yes.
yeah, and to that I would say, okay, but both sides agreed to it. So, you know, stop complaining.
All right, I'll
Anybody?
come out and say it.
Go for it, Jeff.
Okay, so ultimately, it doesn't matter why Apple is closing that store specifically. Apple has a history of being very anti-union. And they have taken efforts in the past to block and bust union efforts. So the fact that this store is closing, regardless of the performance of that mall, it's a bad look for Apple. And I don't think that there was any way for Apple to come out of that store closing without looking like jerks, other than finding a new location in that same area that where they could build a new store. Now, whether or not that's actually a viable thing, I don't know. And I don't know what Apple's true motives are for closing the store. Just saying it's bad optics for the company. And they may just be stuck with bad optics on this one.
And Jeff, I agree with you. I agree with everything you said. But the only thing is, I seriously don't think that Apple just would close down an entire store just on that basis. I mean, could it have been?
They wouldn't be the first company to do it. I'm not saying that's what they did, but
yeah,
I could see Apple doing it just like other companies have done it.
Yeah.
Remember, Apple's not your friend. It's a corporation, and its objective is to generate revenue and profit.
Yeah,
they should just hope they didn't leave any paper trail.
Well, that's
that's
true.
Assuming that the motives were nefarious,
right?
That's what I'm saying.
We don't
if they
know.
were, then there's a lot of companies that do leave a paper trail for dumb stuff. That's like, what did you do that for?
Okay,
I guess we've seen so many of these store closings. And where the situation was, they didn't feel that people were safe, their customers or their clients. Their customers or their workers. And while I'm not ready to say that's exactly the situation in Towson, it has definitely gone downhill, and that's just a fact. Especially since Apple was far from the only one pulling out, and in fact, they're not even among the first wave to pull out. Guy, I'm sorry, I've been rambling.
No, that's fine. But on that note, I'd like to mention that In-N-Out closed in Oakland for those exact reasons. They couldn't guarantee the safety of their employees or the people who were going to that store for In-N-Out products, so they closed the store. But as far as this story goes, if that had been the only store that was closed, then that could possibly be a reason. But there were two other stores for pretty much the same reasons that were closed. And remember as well, that wasn't the only unionized Apple store. There was another one that as far as I know, is doing just fine, and Apple hasn't even talked about closing it. So of the three stores that they closed, the big reason seems to be that the mall is losing other stores, other not Gateway, other important
Anchor.
Yeah, that anchor stores that bring in people into the general location of the mall. And Apple is also one of those stores, but at the same time, if the mall is starting to attract or unattract people willing to spend money, or if it's attracting a bad crowd or what have you, then close the store. Why bother to have it open? And they've allowed the other two stores that close, they can go to
other stores in the area. The problem with the Towson store is, number one, there weren't really any other stores close by. And number two, the collective bargaining agreement that they had with the union apparently made it, if you're a union worker and you're going to go to another Apple store, what happens if that store isn't also unionized? How does that work? Because typically that's considered by the union that you've become kind of a scab, that you're going into an environment and working, but the other people in that store are not union. And most unions don't like that.
Yeah. And again, to go back to my original point, at some point, both sides agreed to this. Now, who made the biggest compromises on it? I have no idea. And we probably will never know. But those are the terms of the deal. And so if you didn't like the terms, then maybe they should have put stronger terms in that if the store closed.
Better protection.
Better. Thank you, Guy. Better protection. Well said. Well said. So, it's like, okay, the world does not revolve around, Apple's unionized employees. The world revolves around Apple. And also, unfortunately, again, to make the point, and well, Guy, you're just down the road from this. I don't know. Are you familiar with the Towson situation?
I've never been to the Towson store. I've got Clarendon, Pentagon City, Woodbridge, and Tyson's Corner all within less than an hour from where I live. So I've never really felt the need. Oh, also Fair Oaks. I've never really felt the need to go out to Towson.
I'm jealous. Dave, sorry.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'll add the same thing. The same thing happened in the Chicago area. I mean, they had pretty strong stores across all of the area. But one store that did close was the Northbrook, Illinois store, which was in a mall in Northbrook Court. That same thing like the Townsend's mall. It just started dying, and all the big anchor stores started pulling out. Macy's was in there; they left, and a number of others. So this isn't anything new. It's just because it's a little bit politically motivated, because it's involving a store that had a union. So. But I think Apple's decision wasn't based on the unionization of the employees. It was based on the foot traffic. They're in a mall that's dead. Why would they want to be in the mall? Because I remember that store in Northbrook was deep in the mall, and yet there's no stores around it. You want foot traffic from other stores besides just Apple, and it's just not. It's not business. There's no business sense of it. Whereas there's another one that's closer by to me at Woodfield Mall in Schaumburg in Illinois. Does amazing business because that mall still is flourishing. It's still doing well. So you're comparing apples to oranges here when it comes to how malls run. And that's just like I said, Apple's not your friend. They're running a business. They want to have a store that's going to stay profitable, and especially with the foot traffic at once, because that's how those stores are always busy. For that reason, because they have people want to go there.
Yeah. So, folks, drop me an email if you feel differently. I'd love to hear what you think, because I see it one way. It sounds like part of the panel sees it that way. Maybe not everybody. So what do you think?
Yeah, but we're the ones that are right.
Well, yeah, there is that.
I don't think there's any smoking gun. Jeff's right that it's possible that this might have been a factor, but there's really no evidence of that.
No,
so
there's not.
Mm-hmm.
Brett in the chat room says my local Apple store in Escondido, California was also on the chopping block. Now I have to go to the Carlsbad store where the parking situation is horrible. Sorry, Brett.
Sorry.
But it's so worth it, Brett. So
yeah. ChatGPT app launches for CarPlay on iOS 26.4. Anybody played with this?
Yes, it's pretty amazing, honestly. Just being able to search for something that quickly in your car and still stay focused. It was a very good experience for me. I don't know about anybody else.
Yeah, I've played with it a little, Dave, and I'm like you. And if you put it in that conversational mode, you can go back and forth. and that makes it equally interesting. Because it's, I'm like you, I tend to think of it of going and looking for things, but I've tried brainstorming a couple little projects, and it's like, oh, this is really interesting.
I just don't know how I'm going to just directly talk to ChatGPT without going through the S lady chaperone. That when I ask her something, she wants me to talk to ChatGPT. So I put
it's
the
like
app
when
on
your
and
parents
play
are out
with
of town for the weekend.
So, does anybody feel this is a bad idea, or is it just a precursor to what we hope we will get come WWDC?
I think it's what's coming.
Yeah.
Hopefully, please, S Lady will step up to the plate and be a little bit better. It drives me crazy when, I invoke S Lady while I'm driving and I say, well, I need you to do this. He says, well, I can't do that. Do you want me to bring up ChatGPT? It's like, can't you just do that automatically? Okay. If you can't do it, then just bring it up automatically. Don't sit there and say, well, do you want me to do it? Really? I'm sorry. It's like, no, shut up. Go to ChatGPT. Fine. I don't care.
There should be a
Strong
setting
opinions
for
on
that.
this. Sorry?
There should be a setting for that so that
Yeah.
you just say, anytime you can't do this, just launch ChatGPT, you little slacker.
Yeah. And then just effing do it. Sorry. It's not after dark.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate, because this is what I think is that, and it's not explicitly stated, but it's implied, that if I'm using ChatGPT is well known to not have the same privacy limitations that the S Lady does. So every single time I ask the S Lady to do something and she can't, or needs to call her friend ChatGPT, she's basically asking my permission.
Yes.
And so that doesn't bother me if I have any privacy concerns. If I have no privacy concerns at all and my head is in the sand, then, like Jeff said, have a setting and let you flip it off.
Well, sometimes you just need Lee's famous fried chicken.
Sometimes you do, apparently. Well, Chuck, if you are doing something where the S Lady gives you the warning, hey, do you want me to go to ChatGPT for this? If you're not logged into a ChatGPT account, that goes through Apple's filters. So that means that ChatGPT supposedly doesn't have your personal information. It's when you link your paid ChatGPT account in that, well, I'm assuming it's paid. When you link your ChatGPT account in, that's when that veil of privacy, however thin it may be, gets pulled away.
But I have a paid ChatGPT account because I want to get the most out of ChatGPT.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah. So, but I mean, maybe I'm giving everybody too much credit for understanding that by going beyond the S Lady out through ChatGPT, that you potentially are exposing something. How much information you're exposing, I have no idea.
Well, that's where a setting where you have to go and find the setting and flip it so that it doesn't warn you every single time when you're using your paid account. I think that would be a reasonable thing. The default would be that it's on, so that every single time you do what you're doing and it says, hey, do you want me to go to ChatGPT? You have to confirm. But it would be nice if there's an option for all the guys out there that just want to shut the thing off and let it do its thing.
Yeah, and maybe we'll get that in the next version. Marty.
Yeah, my understanding was just the opposite, that when you ask the S Lady to do something and she says, can I take it out to ChatGPT? Now, I agree, there could be a setting that just does that automatically. But my understanding is she's she's not giving the data, she's giving the question. And then she's getting and it's an anonymous kind of request from from the S lady to ChatGPT, and then she knows where to point it back to you.
Mhm.
So your information is anonymous. It doesn't necessarily go into ChatGPT's coffers. Now, they obviously know what questions someone's asking, but they don't know what question who's asking. And I think that's part of the privacy level of using the S lady, is when she goes out and makes it anonymous. So if that's the case, then yeah, they could easily put a link in, given that's the structure of it, that allows you to ask something of the S lady. She doesn't know it. You've already given permission to go out, and you also know that the information is going to be anonymized.
Yeah, and honestly, all it would have to do is say, according to ChatGPT,
Right.
give you the information so that you know the information is coming from ChatGPT. They get the credit as far as your perception of where the information is coming from. So hopefully, whoever it is that's getting this information goes, well, that ChatGPT is pretty nice. I'm going to go check that out. But that way, of course, everything is satisfied. ChatGPT gets the credit for coming up with the answer. S lady isn't wasting your time by asking you if you want it to go to ChatGPT, and you get your answer.
So do you put a premium? This is rhetorical. Do you put a premium on privacy, or do you put a premium on giving the information?
Well, if the information is going from S lady to ChatGPT, it's already an anonymous. That word.
Anonymized.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, and I don't know. I mean, Jeff brings up the tying the two accounts together. I really don't know, because I didn't do that when I was playing with this particular thing. And of course, we started out talking about the car, and now we're just talking about the two together. So I don't recall ever telling the S lady that I have a paid ChatGPT account.
Well, if you invoke ChatGPT through CarPlay by saying, you hit, excuse me, boy, everyone is having throat problems tonight. You hit the little button that you give a voice command to your car, which goes through CarPlay, and you say, enable ChatGPT. And so then ChatGPT comes up and you ask it a question, and now it's going from you to whatever kind of account you have with ChatGPT, because if you have extra features through a paid account, then you should get those benefits. But it's not going to be privatized as assumingly it would be if you were going through Siri, the ChatGPT, but you also wouldn't get those advanced features.
All right, I looked it up to make sure, or to see if I was misstating how it works, and it does work the way I thought. And I will list this out just for clarity.
Please.
If you use Siri and you are not logged into a ChatGPT account, you have the Apple anonymization of the request. If you link your ChatGPT account, free or paid, into Siri, when you do that ChatGPT request, ChatGPT is acting as if you are talking to it directly, and the anonymization is gone because it's all linked right to your account, and it works exactly as if you had fed information directly into ChatGPT. So, Chuck, since you are not logged into a ChatGPT account, the anonymization that you're expecting is there.
Right, but you won't have the advanced features of a paid account doing it that way.
Correct.
Okay, Jeff, since you're doing research, let's take it a step further. Do I have to be logged in, as in, go to the app on the phone and log in to ChatGPT? Or is it just the fact that, okay, I have a paid ChatGPT account, the app is on my phone, and the odds are probably it's open in the background because I've been using it. So
That's a good question.
How do you link? Because
I
don't remember.
I believe
ever
it's a
being asked.
Siri setting where you go in and link your ChatGPT account in to Siri. I believe.
But in your ChatGPT account, you can set it not to use your information for models.
Yes.
So you then have that other layer that you can add into it.
Right.
Yeah, it sounds like we all need to pay a little more attention and maybe do some research. Because now you've got me wondering about using it in the car. Because
well, if you're using it in the car and you're not linked in and you haven't linked Siri to a ChatGPT account, it's anonymized.
Right, but again, Jeff, because it's my phone, sort of like Waze does. If I pull up Waze, it's running on my phone and it's communicating through CarPlay, and I'm seeing the display on the car. So if I have ChatGPT, if I've been working in ChatGPT and it's running in the background on my phone, now I go out, get in my car, and start talking to ChatGPT. Is it going through the app on my phone and recognizing that I'm paid?
No,
And it's me?
it is not. Okay, so I've got this. I have that missing piece for you.
Okay.
Unless you explicitly go into the Siri settings and link your ChatGPT account to Siri, regardless of whether or not you have ChatGPT installed via the app on your iPhone and logged in, it doesn't matter. It only matters what you have put into settings in Siri.
Okay.
I'm glad we cleared that up.
Well, I am too.
But there you go. Well, and you're welcome for the research. My bill is in the mail.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, now I really want to go in and check my settings because I don't remember ever being prompted. So I would guess, therefore, that it's defaulting. If Apple is true to form, it's defaulting to just going out anonymized.
Yes, I believe that is correct. I think you have to explicitly link.
Or
Okay.
if you bring up ChatGPT without the S lady.
Yeah, and that's a different scenario, and you're
Right.
correct.
I say that again, guys. So if you're not logged in, but you just bring it up as
No.
a friend,
On your phone, you have the ChatGPT app.
right?
So you're driving along, you hit the little button on your steering wheel or whatever, and you say, open ChatGPT. So ChatGPT opens and is waiting for you to do something or say something in order to have it react. So when you do it that way, then your information that you're asking for or giving it is not going to be that word.
Anonymized.
Thank you. So
Anonymized.
No. So in that particular scenario, then you're giving them everything that they would have gotten regardless. The only way it stays safe is if you don't have it linked through Siri. Wait a minute. Now I'm getting confused.
Okay, so there's two ways to access ChatGPT in this scenario. One is by going through Siri. One is by going through the ChatGPT app. They're silos, and there's a very solid wall between them. If you use Siri, unless you have explicitly linked your ChatGPT account to Siri, then any ChatGPT request that happens in the Siri silo is anonymized.
Okay, so the only thing that I honestly don't remember is
What was the question again?
well,
How private are Chuck's requests?
yeah, I thought that I had to sign up for an OpenAI account before I could access ChatGPT. Now, maybe that is no longer the case, but back when I signed up,
don't know.
I think I had to. There was not just I just didn't open a website and start typing things in. Maybe that has changed.
Probably not.
So, Marty. Oh, you muted, Marty.
I went to the
ChatGPT
expert on this.
Okay.
I went to ChatGPT. And I asked, when I use ChatGPT and CarPlay, is my paid account being used? And are the questions you're getting anonymized? And the short answer is yes to your account, mostly yes to anonymization, but with one nuance. And the nuance was what I suggested earlier. So when you access ChatGPT through your CarPlay, you're not running a separate system. You're in your iPhone's ChatGPT app for Siri integration tied to it. Your paid subscription, ChatGPT Plus, does apply. You get access to the same model capabilities in your account within voice CarPlay interface limits. Some advanced features like file uploads, images may not be available in the CarPlay mode. My question was, are your questions anonymized or anonymized? Account versus identity. Your interactions are linked to your account since you're logged in, but they're not publicly tied to your identity or shared with others. How data may be used? OpenAI may use conversations to improve models unless you turn this off. Data is handled according to OpenAI's privacy control policies. Where you turn that off is you log into your, I don't think you can do it on the phone, but you log into your account on the web and you have the option not to use models. So you, it says in the ChatGPT app, go to settings, data controls, turn off, improve the model for everyone. This prevents your chats from being used for training. And then has some other stuff in here.
Okay, thank you, Marty.
So Jeff and I are both right.
Yep.
Hooray! We're both winners.
What's the prize?
Cookies for all.
Oh, brother. Brett in the chat room says, I would never have guessed that this would be the big discussion topic for the night. Yeah, I agree with you, Brett, but at the same time, I'm glad, because this just points to how many considerations there are and how you have to think about it, and all the controls. And I fully believe that Apple is doing its best to give us something super functional, but it create as much privacy for us as it can. And so to go the whole way back to Guy's comment, I personally, if you don't care, let's give you a switch. I care enough that it doesn't bother me to say yes a second time, so that I have some additional potential layer of privacy. That was deep.
Yeah, I don't think anyone here anticipated that was going to be a major topic tonight.
No, I thought it was sort of throwaway, but has happened so often with this crew.
Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.